Okay, guys, so just kind of a quick update on things in general and an answer to a question from Owen about have I ever tried teaching kids online and what's it like teaching college kids. I actually made a video for this already, and then Owen got back to me saying the sound was bad, and I realized I'd had my headphones plugged in on the table and I was just talking without them on. So that's what happens when you get busy and you've got kids and you know quarantine and trying to learn to code and all this stuff. So I'm remaking it. This is the new version. It's updated. So I've got one class I've been teaching since I want to say maybe 2017 online, and they were friends with me. Sorry, I'm trying to find this video again so I can take it down. Someone actually, they're trying to sell me a book. They didn't even watch it. Okay. Anyways, these kids were students of mine in 2017 for roughly half a year, and then they moved abroad to Canada for a year with their family, of course, their parents, and after that they came back and the parents wanted the kids to go to English lessons, but the kids didn't. They were kind of nervous. They wanted me to be their teacher again, so they got in touch with me and said, "Can you do online lessons?" And I said, "Sure." So I've got experience as far as that goes, but those kids are kind of an exception because their level is much higher than the average bear in these parts. Even though it's dropped considerably since coming back, they're really kind of on a lifeline with English as far as that goes. But it's better than nothing. They're still better than most kids their age. As of tomorrow, my school will be online. So I've actually got one, potentially two kids classes online. One of the students, so there's two students in the class. One of them has been off since March, and the other one was coming, but when I moved online, ironically, she says, well, I can't do it because they don't have an internet connection. So, but the student has been off since March. She might be coming because she seemed happy when I sent out the broadcast about moving online. I still don't know if it was the right thing to do, speaking honestly, because it's really just I'm trying to kind of show that I care and I want people to be safe and that I'm trying to support the local policy. The cases have been so few in this area that it's a little bit silly to a degree, but on the other hand, it is a very contagious virus and blah blah blah. We all know. Literally everyone in the world knows this. But I don't know how it's going to impact numbers for this month, or really how the lessons are going to go. We'll have to kind of play it as it comes. I'm pretty good in that respect at doing that, but it's still a little worrying. Yeah, I'm really hoping by June we can go back to normal, and that'll be that. Teaching college kids, it's pretty fun in person, at least. Online, which is what the university here has been doing since mid-April, it's not very effective because the classes are so big. It's really hard to get people together, and you put them in Zoom has what's called breakout rooms, and you can put people in their own little mini sessions, but the issue is you can't see or hear them while they're in the room, so you have to enter that their room, and then of course you're separated from everyone else, so it's not as efficient as being in person. But generally teaching them is pretty fun. I work with year 1 and 2 students, and they look like kids, like it's unbelievable. I remember when I first started teaching them, oh my god, these are kids. Like, what happened? I feel so old. But they're generally, they're really fresh, very energetic, full of life. It's a nice change from just the same old stuff in the same old place here at my school. I don't teach the English majors. I teach just general English classes that are part of the general curriculum, regardless of major. So the levels aren't really that high in my experience. Occasionally you'll get someone who's like exceptionally fluent and really likes English, but it's less than 2%, I would say. So it's very repetitive. You go over the same grammar points and the same drills over the course of the semester. But it gets you out of the office across town, so it's fun. I'm glad for it. One last thing about it is it's very stable. You got 4 months, you're absolutely going to make this much money, and then 2 months off, another 4 months, guaranteed this much, 2 months off. It gets a little stressful when you're kind of relying on people to come every month when they don't physically have to. They could very easily just say, we're busy, we're going to stop. That happens fairly regularly in this industry, if you will, and so it's nice to have a little bit of stability there. It would not be enough to live off of though, so I still have underneath it all a very heavy reliance on people's interest in continuing to come of their own volition. So, which is really on top of the coronavirus trauma, has really inspired me to redouble my efforts on learning to code and finding some kind of position, ideally full-time, doing remote work, either as a software engineer proper or in customer support. There's a lot of positions out there actually where you interface with the clientele and the development team. You're kind of a go-between, so you're updating documentation and you're kind of taking in the customer's issues and then kind of explaining it to engineers who are actually building out the applications and services and are heavily involved in maintaining it and adding features and stuff, which to me would be really kind of fun. In fact, after making this video, I'm just going to shoot off a resume and application cover letter to the company. But the problem is when you're looking for remote work, especially like somewhere in Japan, occasionally you'll get offers for in Japan only or in the APAC region, which is Asia Pacific. But if it's something worldwide, then you're competing sometimes with thousands of people. So, I mean, it's generally true anyway, regardless of where the job is and whether or not it's remote, that you really need to know somebody working there to get in the door. So I'm still going to apply, but I'm kind of not keeping my expectations too high because there's just so much competition. But I figure, 6 months, a year, 2 years even of doing that, eventually I'm going to get in. If I'm continuing to network and build my skill set, that's the most important thing, is having the skill naturally, but you'd be surprised how many people overlook that and focus on their resume and stuff. The skill set's also the hardest to get. I mean, really, every time you sit down, you're challenging yourself. So that can be a bit of a turn-off too. People can run out of steam and end up getting a job doing something else. But in my situation, it's very similar to what I felt when I was learning Japanese. Is that yes, it's very hard, especially in the beginning. It's completely bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. It can be hard to remember stuff. You might have to read the same paragraph 10 times and then think about it for a week before it finally becomes natural. Not always, but it is like that in the beginning. That type of process where it's just like every day, like, this is hard. And I remember when I first started learning, before we had kids, we'd often have people over at our house, my wife's friends, and occasionally some of mine, and most people would be speaking Japanese, and I remember times I could only last about half an hour, or just English, and then eventually it was an hour, and then 2 hours, and then it got longer and longer, and now it's just kind of second nature for the most part, but still I run into words sometimes I don't understand after 12 years, because there's a lot of words in Japanese, And to quote Donald Trump somewhat, I don't have the best words. I know enough to do a lot, but I think it happens in English too, so it's no big deal. But learning to code is very much like that, where it's like a massive cognitive load where you really start to feel stupid. You start to question your intelligence and you wonder if you can actually do this. And so that's challenging, but it's worth pursuing because it's very rewarding, and it makes you sharper and better at a lot of other tasks in your life if you're used to concentrating very hard on solving a problem and trying different approaches to it and stuff. So I would love to be involved in something like that also paid at the same time. And so I'm working on networking and blah blah blah. But yeah, the coronavirus thing, it's really upset the world, and I think it's been a wake-up call in more ways than one for most people, just because you realize, like, if your job just goes away, or they say we're going to close indefinitely, if you don't have options or some kind of side hustle or some kind of very valuable skill that almost always means you've had to work very hard for quite a while to get, then you are at the bottom of the list, and that's scary with a family. I've been very fortunate. It's mostly just due to geography that I've been able to continue making any income during all of this, and it's not a position I want to be in again. So it's time to diversify, and this time I really feel like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I've been making, I don't know, 1 hour to 3 hours every day to just work on stuff. And that's what it takes, you know. When preparation meets opportunity is what they call luck. So hopefully I'll get lucky here. All right, the video is long enough. Thanks, Owen, for the question. And that's that. I'll post this up and get on out of here.